We cannot build sustainable futures when communities live under the shadow of conflicts, and we cannot expect democracy to flourish when fear silences voices and erodes trust. Sustainable investments are not just about financial returns, they're about securing the future. Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished colleagues, and visionaries of a better world. On behalf of Club of Skopje, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Berlin Economic Forum, a platform dedicated to exploring the intersections of economic policy, sustainability, and cultural diplomacy. In a world where economic decisions shape every facet of our societies, from environmental responsibility to social equality, it is essential that we engage in meaningful dialogue across disciplines, sectors, and borders. Honored guests, we gather here today at a time of profound transformation. Some might call it a time of crisis, some might call it time of opportunities, some might call it times of morbidity, uncertainty, or they might call it interregnum, better known as time between two epochs. The world order that once promised stability now weaves under the weight of uncertainty, that's for sure. Democracy that once flourished as the voice of the people, is facing steady decline. According to Freedom House, democracy has been in retreat for the past 17 years, with nearly 60 countries experiencing democratic backsliding just in the last decade. Wars and conflicts continue to erupt, displacing millions. Mistrust grows among nations, among institutions and international organizations, and instead of unity, we see division. Today's world, today's international, if you want, global order, faces several challenges and criticism reflecting a complex and evolving international landscape, from inequality and inequity to geopolitical tensions, as well as the global governance gaps, and, as some might argue, the outdated multilateral architecture that needs a process of catharsis. Multilateral organizations became club of monologues. States are not nurturing their relations. They're arguing without listening to each other, and there is a lack of dialogue. Furthermore, concerns persist about human rights, abuses of the erosion of democracy in various parts of the world. The global order's ability to promote and protect these principles is questioned when violations occur. The global economic system is seen as vulnerable to financial crisis and economic instability, with some questioning the effectiveness of international financial institutions in preserving or mitigating these cases. Global migration patterns are on the rise, driven by conflicts, economic disparities, and climate change. The global order faces challenges in addressing the needs and rights of migrants and refugees. Another challenge is the digital age that presents new challenges in terms of data privacy, cyber attacks, and digital surveillance. The rise of nationalism and populism in various countries challenges the principles of international cooperation and multilateralism, potentially undermining global efforts to address common challenges. Wars, conflict, lack of patience, and an overdose of egoism in politics. Unfortunately, peace is getting away from us. Not just the absence of war, but true, lasting peace, that kind that allows societies to flourish, economies to prosper, and democracy to thrive. Hannah Arendt warned us long ago that violence thrives where thinking ceases, and that without active civic engagement and moral responsibility, societies fall prey to force that destroy peace from within. Her words reminded us that achieving peace is not merely about ending conflicts. It is about cultivating a world where justice, dignity, and human rights are protected at every level. The ancient Stoics taught us that true peace is not something granted by the world, it is something cultivated within. Epictetus once said that no man is free who is not master of himself. And so, before we can hope to achieve peace on a global scale, we must first establish peace with our hearts, within our families, among our friends, and within our own nations. A world at peace cannot be built upon individual consumed by conflict, resentment, and division. We all have duties to our communities, to our nations, and to the humanity as a whole. These obligations do not compete with one another, they reinforce one another. A nation that is strong, just, and at peace within itself would naturally contribute to a more stable and harmonious world. But if we cannot resolve our differences in our homes, how can we hope to resolve them on the world stage? If we cannot show compassion to our neighbors, how can we extend it to distant lands? Peace is not the absence of struggle, it is the mastery of it, and it is the ability to engage with the world not from a place of fear, but from wisdom. We often hear that to achieve peace we need collective security, but this formula is flawed. As the man of peace himself, His Excellency Mr. Moratinos, who is today with us, reminded us in Cascais a few months ago during the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations Forum. We don't need collective security to achieve peace. We need peace to establish collective security. Dear friends, the vision of the main topic for which we are gathered today of sustainable investments and environmental projects for advancing global development, democracy, and peace is one that resonates deeply. It speaks to the fundamental pillars of a just and prosperous world. But the question we must ask ourselves is, can we truly achieve any of this without peace? We speak of sustainable investments, environmental projects, and global development, yet none of this can truly thrive in a world without peace. We cannot invest in prosperity when economies are destabilized by war. We cannot build sustainable futures when communities live under the shadow of conflicts, and we cannot expect democracy to flourish when fear silences voices and erodes trust. Sustainable investments are not just about financial returns, they're about securing the future. They create jobs, they reduce inequality, and they bring stability to fragile regions. But no investor will plant seeds in scorched earth. Without peace, capital flees and businesses collapse while economies remain stagnant. Environmental degradation knows no borders. Climate change is the silent war of our time, displacing people and fueling resources conflicts while threatening livelihoods. We need urgent actions, but how can we protect nature when war turns forests into battlegrounds and rivers into frontiers of destruction? Let us be clear that peace is not just a political necessity, it is also an environmental imperative. And of course, speaking about democracy, development and democracy walk hand in hand. One cannot exist without the other. Where there is no development, desperation breeds extremism, and inequality fuels unrest. To build a world where prosperity is shared, where people have voice, where every child can dream of a future, we must start with peace. For in the end, sustainable investments are not just about markets, and environmental projects are not just about nature. For also, global development is not just about economies, they're about the people, and when people thrive, peace follows. Distinguished guests, dear friends, a joint group of Palestinians led by Hiba Husseini and Israelis led by Yossi Beilin have worked together in the last year and are suggesting the Holy Land Confederation as an umbrella for two independent and sovereign states collaboration. The Berlin Initiative that is part of this forum is not just another diplomatic effort. It is a crucial step towards a future where diplomacy triumphs over division. At a time when the world is witnessing unprecedented suffering, hatens, tensions, and deeply fractured political landscape, the urgency for a sustainable resolution has never been greater. The proposed Holy Land Confederation introduced a bold yet pragmatic framework for coexistence, drawing inspiration from successful models like the European Union. By providing a neutral platform for dialogue, collaboration, and economic mechanisms to support peace, this initiative offers a real opportunity to move beyond deadlock and towards a viable long-term solution. As the UN Secretary General rightly emphasized in his message for the launch of Berlin Initiative that we received 3 days ago, beyond engaging the current war, we must establish a foundation for lasting peace, one that guarantees security for Israel, dignity and self-determination for Palestinians, and stability for the entire region. The Berlin Initiative is a direct response to this urgent call, offering a diplomatic path to achieving a two-state reality where both peoples can coexist in peace and security in line with international law and UN resolutions. The takeaway is clear. Peace will not come from military victories, but from courageous diplomacy, visionary leadership, and commitments to the shared future. Basically, peace has to come from the people that desperately want it, and some of them I can see today in this very room. And that is why we established Club of Skopje, not just an institution, but as a movement dedicated to shaping a future where democracy and global peace are not just aspirations, but realities. Founded by the International Central Alliance of Civilizations in Skopje and the Academy of Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin, led by my dear friend Mark Domfrit, the club serves as a neutral platform for meaningful dialogue, cooperation, and actions. It is built on the belief that peace is more than an absence of war, it is the presence of justice, equality, and opportunity for all. True peace demands more than diplomatic agreements. It requires an unwavering commitment to human rights, sustainability, prosperity, equality, and non-violence. At the Club of Skopje, we embrace this challenge. We work to foster connections between nations, cultures, and communities, advocating for policies and initiatives that not only prevent conflict, but actively build sustainable peace. And once again, I will have to quote Mr. Moratinos, so powerfully reminded us long ago, and I quote, The time has come to shift the paradigms to positiveness and move from security to peace, from tolerance to respect of the other, from minorities to citizenship rights, from coexistence to living together peacefully, from dialogue to an alliance and a commitment to peace. This is not just a philosophy. This is basically a call for action. Within the framework of the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, Mr. Martinez has championed a vision. Basically a vision that requires a transformation in the way we perceive, narrate, and engage with the world around us. Now, more than ever, we need this shift on a global scale. We need a change of perception, a change of narrative, and most importantly, a mental revolution. One that replaces fear with hope, division with unity, and indifference with shared responsibility. It is not enough to talk about peace in diplomatic halls. We must embed in our policies, in our investments, in our communities, and in our daily interactions. To achieve peace, we need a revival of values, morality, and most importantly, virtues. For me personally, virtues are a reflection, and the peace is a reflection of the ethical foundation upon which societies are built. Without justice, there is no trust. Without compassion, there is no unity. And without integrity, there is no stability. As Aristotle taught, virtue is the essence of a flourishing society, and without virtue, peace might be achievable, but unsustainable. If we seek a world without conflict, we must first cultivate wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice, not just in governance, but in our daily lives, in our communities, and our institutions. And in the end, I will finish with the great Macedonian revolutionary, Goce Delchev, whose cosmopolitan ideals transcended borders, left us with profound insights. And I quote, "I understand the world solely as a field for cultural competition among peoples." His world reminded us that true struggle of humanity should not be for domination, but for the advancement of ideas, knowledge, and culture. A competition not of arms, but of wisdom, creativity, and progress. Or, as Saint Clement from Ohrid said 1,100 years ago, "In everything that we do, let us compete in goodness and good deeds." Once again, on behalf of Club of Skopje, I welcome you all.